Listen closely, because this is not a speech meant to entertain you. This is a mirror, and what you see in it may disturb you before it liberates you. Right now, at this very moment, your life is not random. It is not unlucky. It is not unfair. It is the visible, measurable result of what you have been believing, quietly, repeatedly, sometimes unconsciously, for years. You do not wake up one day and accidentally arrive at a small life. You believe your way into it. Every circumstance surrounding you today, your income, your confidence, your habits, your courage, your fear, was first a thought you accepted as truth. And the most dangerous beliefs are not the loud ones spoken out of arrogance, but the silent ones whispered in moments of doubt. The ones you never questioned, the ones you rehearsed until they hardened into identity. Napoleon Hill wrote that thoughts are things, but he did not mean they are wishes floating in the air. He meant they are seeds, and seeds, when planted long enough, must grow. The mind is a field that never stops producing. If you do not choose what goes into it, it will grow weeds by default. Look at history. Thomas Edison was told he was unintelligent. He was dismissed by teachers, rejected by investors, mocked by competitors. But he did not accept their verdict as final truth. He chose his belief before the world agreed with it. And because he believed in a future that did not yet exist, he endured thousands of failures without interpreting them as defeat. The world calls that genius. In reality, it was faith disciplined into persistence. You see, belief is not hope. Belief is decision. Belief is the moment you stop asking for permission to see yourself as powerful. Most people wait for proof before they believe. But the men and women who changed the course of history understand a brutal law of life. Proof follows belief, never the other way around. Andrew Carnegie did not wait until he was wealthy to think like an industrial titan. Henry Ford did not wait until the factory existed to see the assembly line in his mind. Walt Disney did not wait for approval to imagine worlds no one else could yet see. They believed first. Reality caught up later. And this is where most people fail, not because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but because they betray their future every day by the beliefs they rehearse. They say they want more, yet they believe they are limited. They say they want freedom, yet they believe safety is found in conformity. They say they want purpose, yet they believe they are too late, too old, too ordinary. Belief is the architect of destiny, and indecision is its silent assassin. You cannot live one way and think another without eventually collapsing inward. The mind always wins. If you believe life happens to you, you will live as a victim no matter how hard you work. If you believe success is reserved for others, you will sabotage yourself the moment opportunity appears. Understand this clearly. Your external world is a faithful servant to your internal convictions. The reason this truth feels uncomfortable is because it removes excuses. It places responsibility back where it belongs, not on society, not on luck, not on circumstances, but on the one place you have avoided looking for too long: your inner dialogue, your assumptions, your unquestioned narratives. Abraham Lincoln failed in business. He failed in politics. He lost elections, money, reputation. But at no point did he conclude that failure defined him. He believed in a future version of himself that history had not yet recognized. That belief carried him through humiliation without poisoning his identity. And this is the difference between those who rise and those who repeat the same year forever. The successful refuse to let temporary conditions rewrite permanent beliefs. You are not exhausted because the goal is too big. You are exhausted because you have been dragging around beliefs that contradict it. The mind cannot move in two directions at once. When belief and desire are aligned, action becomes natural. Discipline stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like integrity. But when belief and desire are at war, every step forward feels heavy, delayed, resisted. This is why clarity is power. This is why definiteness of purpose is not a motivational phrase. It is survival. You must decide who you are before the world labels you. You must define success for yourself before society hands you a smaller version. You must choose your future internally before it can ever materialize externally. Because the truth is unforgiving and liberating at the same time, you will never outperform your self-image. And the moment you change what you believe about what is possible for you, everything else begins to rearrange itself in quiet, unstoppable ways. Good. Then listen, because this is where the shift becomes irreversible. The world does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you expect. Expectation is belief in motion. It is belief that has settled so deeply into your nervous system that your actions obey it without negotiation. This is why two people can be given the same opportunity and walk away with completely different outcomes. One expects resistance and finds it everywhere. The other expects progress and bends reality toward momentum. Most people never examine their expectations. They inherit them from parents who played it safe, from teachers who rewarded obedience over curiosity, from culture that praises comfort and quietly punishes ambition. Over time, these borrowed beliefs become internal laws, invisible ceilings. And the tragedy is not that these ceilings exist, but that they go unquestioned. Napoleon Hill warned that the greatest enemy of success is not failure, it is drifting, living without intention, thinking without direction, allowing circumstances to dictate identity. Drifting people are not lazy, they are misdirected. They wake up each day reacting instead of creating, surviving instead of shaping, repeating instead of becoming. And drifting always begins in the mind. A person who believes they are just getting by will unconsciously reject growth that demands risk. A person who believes they are not the type for leadership will avoid situations where leadership is required. A person who believes money is scarce will sabotage abundance even when it knocks. Belief does not need logic to function, it only needs repetition. This is why autosuggestion, what you repeatedly tell yourself, was not a suggestion in Hill's philosophy, it was a law. The mind absorbs what it hears most often, especially when spoken with emotion. And make no mistake, fear is emotional, doubt is emotional. Limiting beliefs are emotionally charged stories you have rehearsed long enough to feel real. But here is the truth that changes everything. If beliefs can be conditioned, they can be reconditioned. You are not required to honor beliefs that no longer serve your future. You are not obligated to keep mental contracts signed in ignorance. You are allowed, no, you are required, to upgrade your thinking if you intend to upgrade your life. This begins with vision. Vision is not daydreaming. Vision is disciplined imagination. It is the ability to hold a future reality in your mind with such clarity that your behavior begins to reorganize itself around it. When a person has vision, they do not need motivation. They have direction. They do not need reassurance. They have alignment. Henry Ford saw a factory that did not yet exist, not once, but constantly. And when experts told him it was impossible, he did not argue. He simply kept returning to the image in his mind until the world had no choice but to comply. Vision is faith made practical. And faith, contrary to popular belief, is not blind optimism. It is loyalty to a future outcome, despite present evidence to the contrary. Faith is what allows you to walk forward before the bridge appears. Not recklessly, but deliberately, because you understand a deeper law. Movement creates clarity. Those who wait to feel ready never move. Those who move create readiness. This is where discipline enters, not as punishment, but as protection. Discipline protects your vision from your moods. It guards your future from your impulses. It is the daily, unglamorous decision to act in alignment with who you have decided to become, not who you feel like being in the moment. Self-discipline is self-respect in action. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when it is uncomfortable, you strengthen your identity. And identity is destiny. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall or ascend to the level of your standards. Look at those who endure. The ones who outlast trends, setbacks, rejection. They are not stronger because life was easier on them. They are stronger because they trained their mind to interpret adversity differently. Where others saw obstacles, they saw instruction. Where others saw delay, they saw preparation. Resilience is belief under pressure. When Edison failed thousands of times, he did not believe he was failing. He believed he was refining. That belief preserved his energy. That belief kept discouragement from becoming identity. And this is critical, because discouragement is not dangerous until it becomes personal. You must learn to separate events from identity. What happened is not who you are. The moment you internalize temporary defeat as permanent truth, belief collapses, and with it, momentum. But when you maintain belief in the face of contradiction, something powerful happens. You begin to develop emotional immunity. Criticism loses its sting. Comparison loses its grip. Noise fades. Focus sharpens. This is the mental state from which all great achievements emerge. And gratitude, true gratitude, not passive appreciation, becomes fuel. Gratitude anchors you in abundance. It trains your mind to recognize progress, not just absence. Keeps your nervous system open to opportunity instead of contracted by fear. Gratitude does not mean you settle. It means you recognize how far belief has already carried you. As you continue forward, adaptability becomes your ally. Rigidity breaks under pressure. Flexibility learns, adjusts, evolves. The goal does not change, but the strategy refines itself. Those who succeed long-term are not the most stubborn, but the most perceptive. They listen to feedback without surrendering vision. They pivot without abandoning purpose. And purpose, real purpose, is not found. It is chosen. It is built through commitment, through contribution, through deciding that your life will stand for something beyond comfort. Purpose gives belief gravity. It gives discipline meaning. It gives struggle dignity. And when belief, vision, discipline, gratitude, adaptability, and purpose align, something rare happens. You stop chasing success. You start becoming it, because the world eventually mirrors the mind that refuses to surrender. And at some point, quietly, without ceremony, you realize the truth you once doubted has been shaping you all along. You did not become confident because you succeeded. You succeeded because you believed when it was inconvenient. You did not find your future. You chose it. And from that moment forward, there was never any other possible outcome. Good. Stay with it. Don't rush. This isn't meant to be consumed. It's meant to enter you, because once belief has been chosen, the real work begins in silence. There is a phase no one applauds, a stretch of time, where nothing seems to move on the outside, yet everything is being rebuilt on the inside. This is where most people turn back, not because the vision died, but because the old self begins to panic. The old identity feels threatened, and it will fight to survive. Understand this, every new belief must pass through a season of contradiction. You will believe you are capable, and then face moments that make you feel inadequate. You will believe you are destined for more, and then experience delay. You will believe you are disciplined, and then confront temptation with surgical precision. This is not failure. This is integration. The mind tests new beliefs, the way the body tests new strength, by applying resistance. If you interpret resistance as a sign to stop, you will return to what is familiar. But if you interpret resistance as confirmation that growth is underway, you cross an invisible threshold. This is where identity begins to change. James Hill, Napoleon Hill's son, once wrote that the mind does not respond to logic alone. It responds to emotion combined with repetition. This is why rituals matter. Morning routines, quiet hours, visualization practice not occasionally, but relentlessly. When you see the future repeatedly in your mind, the subconscious accepts it as instruction. It begins filtering reality differently. Opportunities you once ignored become obvious. Conversations shift. Decisions sharpen. You stop explaining yourself to people who do not share your direction. And this is when separation begins. Not arrogance, not isolation, but discernment. You start realizing that not everyone can come with you, not because they are wrong, but because they are committed to a different belief system. And belief systems do not coexist peacefully when one demands expansion and the other seeks comfort. This is where many people feel lonely and misinterpret it as loss. But loneliness at this stage is not absence, it is alignment. It is the mind shedding noise so it can hear its own command more clearly. Remember this, every great builder worked alone long before others joined the vision. Carnegie assembled a mastermind not because he needed approval, but because his belief had already matured. He knew that thought multiplies when aligned minds gather, but only after direction is set. Before that, too many voices dilute conviction. This is why clarity must be guarded. Clarity is fragile in the early stages. It can be disrupted by doubt disguised as concern, by opinions masked as advice, by people who mean well but think small. You must protect your vision the way a flame is protected in the wind, not by denying reality, but by limiting exposure. Faith is not fragile, early belief is. As belief hardens into certainty, your tolerance for distraction decreases. You stop romanticizing busyness. You stop chasing validation. You stop explaining delays. You understand something most never grasp: time is neutral, but focus is decisive. Every day you either reinforce the old identity, or invest in the new one. There is no neutral action. Every habit is a vote. Every choice casts a ballot for the future version of you. And here is where personal power truly reveals itself. When you begin acting in alignment even when no one is watching. Character is built in private. Confidence is forged in solitude. The world only sees the result, but the result is inevitable once belief governs behavior consistently. This is also where emotional mastery becomes non-negotiable. You cannot allow moods to dictate standards. Emotions are signals, not commanders. They inform, but they do not decide. Those who let emotions lead will always live reactively. Those who train emotions to follow purpose gain stability under pressure. This is why adversity refines leaders instead of breaking them. Pressure exposes belief. Comfort conceals it. When pressure arrives, whatever you truly believe surfaces instantly. If you believe you are capable, you lean in. If you believe you are fragile, you retreat. And this moment, this split-second reaction, reveals the work still required. Do not judge yourself here. Observe, adjust, reinforce. Belief is not built in a single declaration. It is constructed through consistent evidence provided by your own actions. Each time you do the hard thing, belief deepens. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, trust is restored. Each time you resist the easy escape, identity strengthens. Momentum is not dramatic. It is quiet and cumulative. And one day, without warning, you realize that the voice that once doubted you has grown faint. Not because you fought it, but because you stopped feeding it. You replaced it with intention, with direction, with self-command. This is when your presence changes. People feel it before you speak. They sense certainty, not loud, not aggressive, calm, grounded, directed. And certainty is magnetic. It draws opportunity, collaboration, and responsibility. Because the world is always searching for those who know where they are going. And you do now. Not because everything is perfect, but because belief has taken root deeply enough that doubt no longer negotiates terms. You are no longer waiting to see who you become. You are becoming, on purpose.